Well, time again for some candidate conversations, and this time I'm happy to introduce you to Steve Duenkel, who's running for Mason County Auditor. Steve, how you doing?
I am doing well, never better. Thank you for having me here today, Jeff.
You and I met a couple months ago at a Shelton Chamber business after hours. We started talking a little bit. At that time, I had no idea about your aspirations for political office. We were just kind of talking and learning about each other.
Yep.
So why don't you explain and tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Well, um, I spent most of my career, successful career, 37 years in the private sector, working, in various companies and various jobs, mostly at the Boeing company,
Mm-hmm.
where I was in operations leadership. And so I've got a lot of experience with putting budgets together and managing to budgets. I've also done work at other smaller companies where I was deeply involved in the financial management systems and accounting and publication of our financial reports. So I've I've got some experience as it relates to the financial side of the auditor's office, and then recently have been involved in getting into a lot of the election integrity topics, and that's where I decided that the people of Mason County deserve better, and they deserve better in terms of transparency, and they deserve better in terms of integrity from what we're getting right now. And so I thought, if anybody's gonna make an impact, it might as well be me. And so that's what motivated me to want to get into the race.
You're from the Boeing area up north, and you've moved here recently in the last.
I've been a
Less...
resident of Mason County since 2016.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, very cool.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about the auditor's office and what you would do as the Mason County
Well, I'll tell
auditor.
you, the auditor's office there's a lot going on there. I don't think a lot of people really appreciate the breadth of what happens in the auditor's office, whether it's the financial accounting piece, the elections piece is obviously something that gets people's attention, but also the licensing and the recording, right? There's a lot that goes on there. And, going back to what I was saying before, I think the people of Mason County deserve better. And just touching on the financial side of it, right? When you go out to the auditor's website and you pull up the financial reports for our county, the last one there is from 2016. And it makes you wonder, well, what about the other years? And don't the people of our county have the right to the visibility on the financial state, health, and status of our county? As taxpayers, we all want to know that our dollars are being spent properly, and we want to have visibility on what's going on with the budget.
Are you looking at enhancing any of the services or potentially enhancing the services for more online work when it comes to the licenses and stuff like that? Or what are some of the things that you'd like to move forward with the auditor's
Well, I think a
office?
lot of the licensing stuff has already been migrated to online capability driven by the COVID shutdown and all that, right? And I think that convenience is good. Going beyond that, I have to take a look at that. Um, but the other thing that I absolutely want to pursue is I want to do everything that I can to bring the election system back to the people of Mason County. Those elections belong to us, we the people, right? And they don't belong to the auditor's office. They don't belong to the Secretary of State. They belong to the people of our county. So that's where my whole emphasis is on transparency to the fullest extent possible, and integrity, because there's a lot of people out there that have questions and uncertainties and lack confidence in our election systems, and that's not good. That's not right.
What are some of those questions that people have brought to you?
Well, there's a few. So going back to the 2020 election, we have an observer team, election observers. They're trained people to go down and actually watch the processing of ballots. Well, in 2020, they were prohibited from the physical observation of ballot processing, and they were relegated to having, to watch what was going on through video. And it wasn't just video; it was pretty poor quality video, and you really couldn't tell when you watch it what was really happening, ballot by ballot by ballot. It undermined the whole purpose of having an observer there, right? You want observers from both parties to assure that people's ballots are being processed correctly and with good chain of custody and full transparency. So that's one. I mean, that's people are concerned about that. Why were we not allowed to observe ballots or ballot processing? And then the other one is and you've probably seen it too, being the media guy that there's a lot of questions out there about our voting machines, a lot of uncertainty and recognition that voting machines have their vulnerabilities. And so I want to be, taking a hard look at what do we do about that? And, does it make sense for us to go back to old school hand counting, physical observation of the paper ballots, right? So those are a couple things that people have concerns about when it comes to uncertainties with the election. And let's face it, if people are not confident in their elections, that's a very subtle and very sinister way to suppress the vote, because you feel like, why should I vote? My vote doesn't count. Why bother? And that's not good for our country. That's not good for our county, right? We want people to be enthused, encouraged to vote, and confident that when they cast their ballot, it's going to be counted correctly and accurately the way they intended it.
You mentioned on the website some numbers from 2016. What are some other ways that you're looking at the fiscal part of the auditor's position?
Well, the auditor is responsible for putting together the preliminary budget, right? That is ultimately approved by the county council members, right? And so I think that's the first step is, as that preliminary budget is being formed, I would like to be in a situation where we're having a way to get input from the people, what's important to them in terms of the budget, and to the degree we can make sure that gets captured and reflected in the preliminary budget. There's, obviously you have to take account for the other programs and activities that are underway, but it should start with how the preliminary budget is developed and provide ways for people to give input into that. And then once the budget is approved, it's accessible out there. People can see it, but it's one thing for having it being available on the internet where people can go click and dig and go look for it. It's another thing to be more proactive in terms of communicating to the people of our county. Here's what the budget looks like for the upcoming fiscal year. Here's how we plan to spend your tax dollars and the monies that we take in from fees and services, right? It's their money. They have a right to know.
How has your reception been in the community as you get out there and put your name out there more?
Yeah, I think it's been great. A lot of people are getting excited. A lot of people want to get on board with the campaign. I think we're building momentum, and I'm really excited for the next few months here as things heat up and we get through the primary and work our way to the general election.
Can find you online, and
you can find me online at steveforauditor.com.
Very good, very good. As these conversations continue on here, I'm now happy to introduce and talk a little bit with Steve Duenkel, who's running for Mason County Auditor. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Jeff, thank you for your time. And I appreciate the opportunity to interview with you. And I'm counting on your support. And I'm counting on your support too. Let's make this happen. Thank you very much.
Very nice.